In one of the most hypocritical statements ever to be made shamelessly in public, Cyril Ramaphosa on Saturday night addressed the people of this country to highlight that South African problems must be solved by South Africans themselves. And while an ANC politician lying through their teeth or making claims that completely distort reality isn't something new, the blatant hypocrisy and downright evil underlying this particular admission by Ramaphosa, especially as an ANC president, is simply astounding. You see, various organizations and people have been bringing attention to the plight of white South Africans for decades now. Of course, on this channel, we have been doing just this for almost a decade now. On 15 February this year, we at the Willem Petsche Group also handed over a memorandum to the US Embassy in Pretoria in which we highlighted the abuses that white people in this country suffer from because of the oppressive legislation of the South African government. On that same day, we organized a rally in support of the White House's recognition of injustices being committed against the Afrikaner Boer people. The embassy consequently also formally acknowledged receiving our memorandum and forwarded it to President Trump's desk at the White House. But we are not the only ones by far. For years, our people have been asking the international community to recognize the plight of our people. For decades, we have been asking Ramaphosa's government and those before him in the ANC government to stop the oppression and to condemn the absolute violence. He has always blatantly refused, and towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, he intensified this oppressive legislation by signing two of the most oppressive pieces in the history of this country, the Bella Act and the Expropriation Without Compensation Act, which allows the government to steal people's property in the name of so-called restorative justice. And yet, now that the world is finally waking up, he is suddenly furious. And now that his government is feeling the heat, he is suddenly calling for dialogue, appealing to South Africa's so-called history of dialogue. Here's what he said on Saturday night.
We are a country that has a tradition of dialogue, that has an enduring ability to come together to confront the challenges that we face. South African problems must be solved by South Africans themselves.
During the ANC's struggle against the National Party government, also known as the so-called apartheid government, it did not hesitate to appeal to its international communist allies for support in their militant and downright violent fight. As is well known, the ANC, and in particular their military wing Umkhonto weSizwe, actively garnered international support for its own activities on South African soil. The relationship between the ANC and the Soviets goes back almost a century. The first black Secretary General of the South African Communist Party, which would become the ideological driving force behind the ANC from the 1940s onwards, Albert Nzula, actually retired and died in Moscow. In the early 1950s, Walter Sisulu, Secretary General of the ANC, and Duma Nokwe, President of the ANC Youth League, also traveled to the USSR to garner support for their so-called fight against the National Party government. One of the so-called Soviet officials with whom the ANC liaised was Boris Ponomarev, the head of international relations within the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Ponomarev repeatedly endorsed armed struggle and terrorism on South African soil, openly calling for the South African government of the time to be violently overthrown. The Soviet Union consequently not only sent weapons, but also conducted training in the acts of sabotage and terrorism on Russian soil. The Soviets supplied the ANC with AK-47s, explosives and landmines, some of which were used in the bombings the ANC conducted that killed dozens of white and black South Africans, especially during the 80s. Similar support was provided from Fidel Castro's Cuba, with Cuban officers not only offering training to MK operatives in artillery engineering, mortar use and sabotage, but also direct military support. East Germany provided similar support, and even the Irish Republican Army not only openly supported MK's terror attacks, but they actively aided in these attacks on South African soil. On the 31st of May 1980, MK detonated bombs at 3 Sasol oil from coal plants in both Sasolburg and Secunda in a coordinated terror attack planned to coincide with South Africa's celebration of its Independence Day. For this attack, the IRA actively provided MK with logistical support and did the reconnaissance for the entire event. Apart from training the operatives, IRA volunteers carried out reconnaissance on the refineries and assisted in MK's planning for the attack itself. All of this was admitted by Kader Asmal, one of the leading figures in the ANC who was garnering foreign support not only to boycott his own country, but to bomb it. Ramaphosa's own political party did not hesitate to call in foreign military assistance when they were the ones fighting for political power. They also didn't just ask for support, they murdered dozens of South African citizens and bombed key infrastructure in this country with foreign assistance. They have now held political power for over 3 decades and were given pretty much a free pass to do whatever they wanted for the first 30 years that they have ruled this country. But now that the Mandela honeymoon is over all over the world and there is suddenly international pressure on Ramaphosa's government from the US, he's conveniently forgetting the entire history of how his party came to power in the first place, calling for South African solutions to South African problems and dialogue. But he is not doing so because he really believes in South African sovereignty or because he has the economic interests of the people of this country at heart. He doesn't care, and he has proven by his actions that he doesn't care. All that he cares about in this entire dilemma is his own political power and the political power of his party. To be willing to kill people on South African soil through various acts of terrorism just to get into political power, only to turn around and condemn those for merely raising awareness about human rights abuses once that power is threatened, is absolutely astonishing evil. It cannot be described in any other way. The fact of the matter is that Ramaphosa's call to solve our own problems through our own national dialogue is nothing more than a political power play, aimed at silencing his political opponents. It means that international pressure, one of the only forces that has ever made the ANC even go so far as to blink, is suddenly being painted as treason instead of accountability for the ANC government. The problem for Ramaphosa is not that the country is in dire straits, it has been for decades now, but that the ANC is being destroyed. The party that for decades could get away with murder by just playing the Mandela card is being turned into an international pariah as we speak. Their political power is being systematically dismantled, and this is a very positive development for all South Africans. If anyone is to be blamed for the economic woes faced by this country as a result of international pressure, it is Cyril Ramaphosa himself. The man who, even before the start of Trump's second term, was by every conceivable measurement the worst president in the history of this country. Check out our full study by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now explaining this. And remember to consider becoming a member of the Willem Petscher Group. Only through the support of our paid members are we able to do the work that we are doing. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and God bless.